This is me at 16, addicted to video games, unmotivated, and headed towards certain failure. Fast forward a couple of years, I'm in the best shape ever, I'm sharpening my skill set, and I'm teaching other people around the world how they can change their life. But what changed? The answer is simple. My habits. Habits aren't just the things we do every day, they're the building blocks for our future. You see, every small choice you make adds up, shaping who we are and where we're headed. For me, my 20s have been a mix of discovery, chaos, and figuring everything out. In this video, I'm sharing the 7 habits that aren't just getting me through my 20s, they're actually what's holding them together. It all started with a simple change in mindset. I needed to learn how to take massive, insanely difficult risks. For most of my life, I was stuck in a time loop. Wake up, go to class, come home, play Xbox, and repeat. It was comfortable and I didn't think twice about it, but deep down, I knew that I wanted more. I just didn't have the courage to stray from what was expected of me. The only way that I saw to break this cycle was to take a big risk. That's when I started my first business. Instead of playing Xbox, I took courses. Instead of wasting my time, I invested it into building something of my own. This forced me to change all of my habits at once. If you feel stuck right now, play it out. Imagine your life 50 years from now on the same path. Are you happy with the result? You need to be the one in control of what your life looks like. Not your parents, not your professors, not your friends, you. And that's how change starts. And while this habit alone can transform your life, when you pair it with extreme accountability, that takes you to a whole new level. Habit number 2, extreme accountability. This is something that I've had to practice a lot, but it's changed me for the better. Starting with anything is tough. Changing your life, building a business, succeeding in school, all of those things are tough. But what makes it even tougher is when you give other people power over what happens to you. When I was younger, I used to blame everything on my circumstances or even the people around me. But what I was actually doing was handing out that power to control what my life looked like. It wasn't until I felt completely helpless that I decided to finally make the switch. And what I mean by this is I started blaming myself for absolutely everything. Even if it wasn't my fault, even if somebody else did it, it's on me. And I can't stress this enough. This was the most liberating feeling because for the first time, I realized that if I was the problem, then I could also be the solution. For example, I remember when I completely bombed a school project. We're not even gonna talk about it, I bombed it. I could have blamed the professor for not explaining it or my group members for slacking, but I decided to ask myself, what could I have done better? This mindset not only taught me how to fix the problem, but it also taught me how to prevent it from happening again. I want to flip the spotlight on you. How often do you blame other people or circumstances for the things that go wrong in your life? For most of you, probably a lot. But what would happen if just for 1 week you took full responsibility for everything in your life? Look, it's not about beating yourself up or carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders. It's about owning your power. Once you realize that every single setback is an opportunity to grow, you become dangerous. Now that you've set the tone, this next habit falls right into place, and it's following your natural clock. What I mean by this is really optimizing your sleep around peak productivity. Now, this is not about forcing yourself to wake up at 5 a.m. because someone said that it's productive. It's about following your body's natural rhythms and flow. This is what's gonna give you the absolute best possible start to your day. Now, for me, yes, I wake up between 4 and 5 a.m., but that's only because of my background. My dad always had to be at work super early, so we just naturally became morning people, but that might not be the case for you. Some of us thrive when we go to bed at 1 a.m. and wake up later, like my mom. Other people like me might call it a night at around 8 or 9 p.m. A big misconception, especially in the self-improvement and self-help space, is that if you're not waking up early, then you're somehow falling behind. And that's just not true. So assuming that most people sleep for about 8 hours, no matter when you go to bed, you still have 16 hours in the day. Your wake-up time simply just shifts where those productive hours land. I really recommend that you find what works best for you and stick with it. A few years back, I tested a bunch of different sleep schedules. 8 hours of sleep versus 7 versus 6, bedtime at midnight versus 10 p.m., and wake-ups between 4 and 6 a.m. Trust me, I know I did a lot. And through that, I was able to find when my body recovered the most during sleep. I'm not saying to go do a bunch of tests like I did, but I am saying that you should have a decent idea of when you get the best sleep. At this point, you're wondering, MJ, why is this so important to master? And here's the thing, if success is built on the ability to make good decisions, and sleep is the #1 driver for mental clarity, then optimizing your sleep has to be one of the most important habits on my entire list. Even the most successful people that I know ruthlessly protect their sleep, because to them, it's the basis for everything. Once you've nailed your sleep schedule and you wake up feeling refreshed, it's time to put all that new energy to good use. Habit number 4, exercising regularly. And no, I don't mean hitting the gym like a maniac, but I really do mean moving your body in a way that keeps you feeling strong and focused during the day. Look, I'm gonna be brief with this one because we all know that exercise is super important. It just works. When I started my fitness journey, I was around 125 pounds and regularly eating junk food. Now I'm in the best shape of my life and my mind is sharper than ever. I cannot stress enough how important it is for you to tame your body. Your body is a symbol to other people about the kind of effort that you put into your life. People just assume, and I don't know why, but people just assume that if you have a strong body, then you also have other desirable qualities. I'm definitely not saying you should work out for the likes of other people, but just jam with me for a second. When you exercise, you're forced to do something that's hard, to break through barriers that you never thought you could, and to physically get stronger. This creates a stack of traits that help you later in life. Perseverance, dedication, consistency. All these traits help you become the most successful version of yourself. So when you think about it, people are kind of right. But I can't stress enough how important it is for you to do something that you're comfortable with. I know a lot of people that just go on walks every single day. I know a lot of people that just run. And I know some people who lift weights and do all those things. You gotta figure out, like, according to your fitness goals, what is the type of exercise that's gonna serve you the best? And then go and be consistent with doing that. For me, I like to lift weights and run about 3 to 5 times per week, but I truly do recommend that you find what works for you and you finally start prioritizing your health. We talked about growing the body, but that's only half of it. The other half is taming your mind. Habit number 5, consuming knowledge like it's candy. We live in an age of instant gratification, connected to our devices 24/7. The problem is that the apps we spend the most time on aren't necessarily teaching us anything. Instead, what are they doing? They're diluting our attention spans. When you're chasing any goal, whether that's starting a business, leveling up your career, or personal development, you need information. When I started for the first time a couple of years ago, I bought tons of courses, I devoured books, I listened to podcasts, I did anything in my power to learn as much as possible. And that became my superpower. Shifting my time from mindlessly scrolling to intentional learning pushed me further than I ever thought possible. So before you open any app, think about this. Could you be using that time to learn something that moves you closer to what you really want? The answer is probably yes. And this really does not have to be complicated. It's as simple as reading before bed instead of scrolling, or listening to podcasts on your walk instead of music. It just takes these simple micro changes to upgrade your mind. Part of that is staying focused. Habit number 6, getting comfortable saying no. Throughout life, we're pulled in a million different directions. Friends want to hang out, or a random event pops up, or there's a meeting that you suddenly get invited to. It never ends. But our ability to stay focused on what really matters is what sets us apart. For me, focus simply just means saying no to anything that's not tied to the main goal. Sure, we all have personal obligations and responsibilities, but if you really want the best results, you gotta start filtering out the noise. Think of it this way. When you don't say no, you're neglecting the things that are gonna move you further in life. Personally, I schedule a half day on Saturdays for all those young adult things. This allows me to say no guilt-free during the week. You don't have to go to any extremes, but the more you say no to distractions, the more time you have for what matters. And that, my friends, is an absolute game changer. Now it's time for our 7th and last habit. Setting clear goals. There's a huge difference between goals that are achievable and those that aren't. And we've all been there, juggling a million different unrealistic goals that sound good in our head, but never get done. Trust me, I know the feeling. I got zero traction my first year in business because I thought I could do it all at once. But when I shifted to clear, tangible goals, I finally started seeing real progress. Instead of saying I want to start an online business, I told myself I want to make my first $10,000. Instead of saying I want to be a good student, I told myself I want an A average in all of my core classes. It's those tiny little changes in the phrasing that turn a vague hope into a tangible goal. Think about how many times you've set those New Year's resolutions and you never got around to it. Probably a lot, right? That's why breaking it down is so key. Let's say I want to lose 40 pounds in 10 months. Now I have a number and a deadline. The next step is coming up with clear actions. Going to the gym consistently, cleaning up my diet, and maybe adding some cardio in there. And I could even break those down even further if I wanted to. The point is, make the goal super clear and then go destroy it. Put a number on it, set a timeline, and outline the steps. Because the clearer the goal, the more unstoppable you become. Look, you have all the tools that you need to be successful. Now is the time where you just go and do it. Anyway, I'll catch you in the next one, and as always, I'm rooting for you.